We look at it.
So first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight. A lot of new faces, a lot of old faces. So for the, and I mean old that I know you, not that you're old. But for the people that are new, just a little bit about myself. I'm an attorney. I've been practicing law for over 20 years. I was an attorney for the city of Syracuse for 10 years. I worked under 3 different mayoral administrations: Driscoll, Minor, and Walsh, unfortunately Walsh. That was pretty embarrassing. When I worked there, I had many different hats. For 2 years, I was attorney for code enforcement. They brought me in there. Matt Driscoll brought me in and said, hey, can you fix this department? And I did. We improved efficiency by over 50% in the 2 years I was there. After that, I was attorney for neighborhood business development for 5 years. So I was actually Sharon Owens' attorney, and I was Ben Walsh's attorney, because they both were deputy directors there. So I know both of these people very, very well, very well. And because I know them so well, it's kind of scary. To be honest with you, I know Sharon personally, and it scares the hell out of me that she might be our next mayor. So after that, I was the attorney for labor and employment. Did that for almost 3 years. And my former boss is here. I don't know where he is. There he is, Bob Staney. He was also former corp counsel at the city. And so I was there. So I got to advise every single department head in the city personally. We discussed the contracts and any disciplinary issues they're having with their employees. And I also, advised 3 different mayors personally. I advised all the common council personally. I also was the attorney at one time for all the public benefit corporations, SIDA, SURA, the land bank. I actually developed the legislation to create the land bank with the county. So I got a little bit of experience with City Hall. But some of the stuff that I saw there, oh my God, you wouldn't believe it. Just the inefficiency, the monies that weren't collected. I'm talking about millions of dollars, And, the way the administration would look at that, they'd say, we're not worried about that money. And I'd be like, what? I'm worried about that money. That's our money. That's my money. This whole thing with the payroll modernization project. When Walsh continues this, Walsh continues this right along. $90,000 paid to someone for nothing. Nothing. She admits she did absolutely nothing. And the administration's like, oh, it's $90,000. That's nothing. We got a $348 million budget. What's 90 grand? But that's a lot of money to people that live in the city of Syracuse. It's a lot of money to people that live in our city that are under the poverty level. Okay? So those kind of things really irk me. And, I could talk about Sharon Owens and Ben Walsh and all their failures over the last 8 years. There's a lot of them. But we're going to be here for a real long time, and I don't want to put you guys through that, okay? But a couple things that I want to talk about tonight they're very close to my heart, is small business and public safety. And these are 2 things that this last administration have gone wrong at every single turn, okay? Small business. This administration, they harass small business at every chance that they get, all right? You talk to people that are out there. I mean, right now, there is a business that I spoke with. They're open up a restaurant, and they did everything they're supposed to do. The city says can't do it. Okay. I had a personal friend of mine who owns a pizzeria business. All right. He bought a pizzeria that was operating as a pizzeria forever. He closed it down for 6 months to do renovations. He opened it up, and on opening day, the city came in and shut him down. Well, what? He spent $100,000 renovating this place. Why is the city going to shut him down on opening day? Well, because the city said, someone blew him in, and the city said, well, you're not zoned for a pizzeria. And my buddy's like, hey, this pizzeria's been open for 40 years. What do you mean I'm not zoned for pizzeria? Well, that pizzeria was grandfathered in, and because you closed your business for 6 months, you lost your grandfathering, and you have to apply for a special variance from the zoning board. This kind of stuff happens all the time. There's a million stories like this. And what it comes down to is the city's interpretation of these ordinances. They interpret them in a way to harass business instead of in a way to make business prosper. Okay? There was no reason to close his pizzeria down. Hey, my buddy, he went to the zoning board of appeals, he got his variance, but his pizzeria was closed for 3 months. He's paying the mortgage on that, his employees aren't employed, we're not selling pizzas, the city isn't collecting sales tax revenue. So what benefit did their interpretation of grandfathering give us as city residents? Nothing. It hurt us. It hurt him, and it hurt every single one of us. Another story, this is one I was personally involved with. There was a garage, a mechanic's garage. This is when I was running the housing division. And they asked me to prosecute this case. And this particular mechanic's garage had been there for over 50 years.
Wow.
And they were open till 5 o'clock historically. Well, he hired another mechanic, wanted to stay open until 7 o'clock. City's knocking on his door, well, you can't do that. You can't stay up until 7 o'clock because the way we interpret grandfathering is to your hours too. So you gotta close at 5 o'clock. We sued this guy, we're in court for a year, his mechanic's not working, finally we settle it at 6 o'clock. For a year, this went on. My resources, the guy that's trying to run the business, his time and money. Why are we interpreting our ordinances in a way that hampers small business in the city of Syracuse? We should not be doing that. And I will not do that as mayor. I will tell you that right now. On day one, we're gonna go in there, we're gonna look at every fee, ordinance, regulation, permit that applies to small businesses, and we're getting rid of all the ones that are, thank you. We're getting rid of all the ones that are unnecessary, or burdensome, or they're duplicative of what the county already requests. This should have been done 50 years ago. Walsh, instead of doing this, he continues to harass businesses. He just did this last week. I don't know if any of you are aware of this. The administration last week told live entertainment venues, businesses, bars, things like that, that actually have live entertainment, that we're gonna shut you down unless every time you have live entertainment, you get a permit from the city of Syracuse at a cost of $250 and an inspection every time you have live entertainment. So if you have a DJ, you got a one-man band, you got a guy playing a guitar in the corner, it's gonna cost you $250, you have to apply 2 weeks ahead of time, and if you don't have it, we're gonna shut you down. We're gonna take away your permit. This is ridiculous. They're doing this based on an ordinance that was passed 50 years ago that has never in the last 50 years been interpreted this way. But for some reason, that's what Ben Walsh is doing. Why? I have no idea. No one can explain this to anyone. It's ridiculous and it needs to stop. I worked at a very large nightclub in Orlando, Florida for several years. We had like a 2,000 capacity. So the fire department was there all the time, okay? But how things work in a real city that wants to have small business prosper is that there's one permit and it's renewed annually. And the fire department comes in, they make sure you're up to code, the police come in. And as part of that permitting process, they can come in for random inspection anytime you have an event, all right? And guess what? If you're not in compliance, you're not having your event. So it's to the business owner's benefit to be compliant all the time. Because otherwise, in the case where I worked, if we got closed down, we're gonna lose tens of thousands of dollars that night. And any business is gonna lose money, so they're gonna be compliant. It incentivizes people to be compliant always. And if we're gonna move forward in our city and encourage small business, we need to have regulations like that. The second thing I wanna talk about tonight is public safety. Okay, this is another thing that just drives me insane. You know, we've had 4 kids shot in the last week, all right? 1 in front of a city pool who didn't make it, and 3 in front of their house on the street. Kids should be able to go outside and play. Kids should feel safe going to the city pool. People do not feel safe in the city of Syracuse. They don't. Parents don't feel safe letting their kids out. Kids don't feel safe going out themselves. This has got to change. We cannot continue with the failed policies of Sharon Owens. So, thank you. So what are Sharon Owens' great contributions to public safety? Now I'm going to say that these are Sharon Owens' contributions because she's been backing Ben Walsh 100%. She gave him a B+ when she rated him with Syracuse.com. So I'm assuming that she loves all his policies. What are Sharon Owens' great policies? Well, one, we are going to pay gang members a stipend. We're going to give them $100 to $300 a week to be good, to don't commit crimes. Can you like believe this? This is what the kind of policy that she comes up with. So what happened?
She came up with that policy.
Well, hey, they're in it together,
yeah,
right?
They're in it together.
So
hilarious.
So we're going to pay gang members not to commit crimes. That's just a brilliant idea. Even the Common Council said, hey, and their policy was no conditions whatsoever. We're just going to give these guys money, and if they get arrested, we're going to stop paying them. That's their motivation. At least the Common Council said, well, we got to put them in a work program. So they did that, and what happened? The crime rate went up. Sharon Owens and Ben Walsh presided over the highest homicide rates in the city of Syracuse 2 years in a row. And that's not what Sharon Owens should be running on, but that's her record, okay? What was her other great idea for public safety? Oh, we're going to hire ex-cons to mentor our children. We're going to put them on the community. We'll put them on the city payroll so that they can be credible messengers, and they're going to mentor these children and keep them out of prison. Okay? I don't know if you guys saw what happened, because the state has a very similar program, and 2 of their credible messengers got arrested at one of our community centers in Syracuse selling drugs to kids. Okay? So this is not the way that we need to move forward on public safety. I can talk about how they cut the budget, the police budget several times. They're going to blame it on the Common Council this time, but guess what? The Common Council allowed them to pick their choices of what they wanted to cut from the police budget. This time, Ben Walsh says, we're going to cut ShotSpotter, one of the biggest tools the police have. And for those of you who aren't familiar with ShotSpotter, there's little microphones all over the city of Syracuse. They're not recording you, so don't worry. But they record specifically targeted at gunshots. So if there's a gunshot in the city of Syracuse, these microphones triangulate exactly where that gunshot occurred. And the police respond there before they even get a 911 call. And the reason this is important, that's how they got to the pool where the kid was shot, because of ShotSpotter. Okay? Ben Walsh just cut that. And this is the second time he cut that. He cut that in 2020, and then we had the highest homicide rate ever in the city of Syracuse. But why is that important? It's important because not every gunshot gets called in, all right? And if the police can get there in a timely fashion, they might be able to apprehend somebody that's not going to be out there shooting the next week. But in Ben Walsh's mind and Sharon Owens' mind, this is not something that our police need. This has got to end. I mean, I heard some stats earlier. They don't exactly comply with my stats, but when I moved to the city of Syracuse, my understanding was there was 550 officers in the police department. When Ben Walsh took office, there was 450 officers in the force. There are now 400 officers in the force. Okay, so we're down probably 150 officers from where we need to be. So what's Ben Walsh's answer and Sharon Owens' answer to recruiting new police officers? Let's make them live in the city of Syracuse. All right? So we negotiated with the police union at the cost of millions of dollars to require new recruits to live in the city for the first 5 years. Anybody know how that turned out? We don't have any new recruits. No one wants to live next to the person that they're arresting. I'm sorry, but that's true. Now, it's great to have officers in the community that live here, and I would certainly incentivize that, but I'm not going to require them to live here. We need police officers. We need cops. What else did they do? Oh, well, I don't know. Sharon Owens in 2020 accused the police department of being, of harboring institutional racism. You think that's the way to build our police morale and get police to come in here and agree to be part of our force? No. They need a mayor who's going to support them, and I will support our police unconditionally. Unless they do something wrong, and then they're not going to support them. You know.
What about the 50?
Let me just look, see if I missed anything here.
I know, 90 points.
Okay, so what am I going to do about public safety? What can I do about public safety? First, I want to say I love Chief Cecil. Been friends with him since 2008. I think he's a great guy. I would love for him to stay on. He doesn't have the resources that he needs. He's leaving. My guess is he doesn't want to work for Sharon Owens. And I'm not surprised. I don't want to work for Sharon Owens either. But what can we do? So first thing that I would do is I'm going to talk to the county, I'm going to talk to the sheriff, and we will re-implement task force for the city of Syracuse. Gun and gang task force, joint task force. We used to have these in the past. For some reason, they stopped happening. And guess what? Crime got worse. We need those task force back. The second thing I'm going to do is we will have community policing initiatives. So when the cops get called to a certain part of Syracuse, it's going to be the same cops responding to that call every time. So the community knows who these cops are. The cops knows the people in the community. It's going to build trust between the force and the community, and it will increase cooperation with police. These are simple, common sense things that we can do. These are things that other people have been recommending for years. I didn't make all this stuff up, but the current administration, Sharon Owens, refuses to implement these common sense things. What else can we do to get more police? And we're very low on police. What can we do to get more of them out on the street? Well, believe it or not, there's a lot of police that sit at a desk all day long. And they love that, because it's great. They don't have to be out there getting shot at. But they're not going to be sitting at a desk anymore when I'm mayor, all right? We will have civilians take over those desk positions, and we're going to put those police out on the street where we need them to be. And another thing thank you, I'm not done yet, but I'm also going to eliminate this residency requirement. We spent millions of dollars on it, and to be honest with you, as a former labor attorney, I don't think it's enforceable, because the state law clearly says you cannot require a police officer to reside in the city as part of employment. But I'm going to get rid of it because we need cops applying for our positions. And the other thing is, the cops that we have right now are overwhelmed, all right? They do not, and I don't know how many of you live in the city of Syracuse, but if you call a police officer for a non-emergency event, there's probably like an 80% chance they're not going to show up. And if the event has already occurred, like your car got broken into, your bike got stolen, something got vandalized, they're going to ask you to fill out your own police report online for your insurance. And guess what? If you don't have insurance, you're not going to fill out that report, which is good for the city, the mayor, because it makes the crime rate go down. So what am I going to do? How can you fix that when we don't have any cops? Well, what I'm going to do is I will create an auxiliary police, a voluntary auxiliary police. A lot of jurisdictions have this. New York City, I don't like to quote New York City for a lot of things, but they've been very successful with their auxiliary police program, and I would model it after that. So what are the auxiliary police going to do? They will come to these calls that our regular force are too busy to respond to now. As citizens of the city of Syracuse, we deserve more for our tax money than to be told that we can fill out our own police report, or to be told that that's a non-priority and you're going to sit and wait for an hour and a half if a police officer shows up at all. I don't blame the police. We're down from 550 police to 400 police. I don't blame them. I blame the mayor. I blame Sharon Owens because, and her policies. What else do we need to do? What else do we need to do for public safety? I don't know how many of you people have been downtown lately. I've worked downtown since 2003, and there are a lot of days where downtown looks like LA tent city. I have to go to my office, there's human feces in front of the door, there's a man sleeping in women's underwear on the sidewalk, There's a homeless person fighting with someone just trying to go to the corner store to get a soda. It's insane. It's crazy. And something needs to be done about it. If we're going to have a vibrant downtown, a place where businesses want to be, a place where people want to live, it can't look like homeless tent city. And believe me, I have empathy for homeless people, and most of the people that are down there are not a problem. But the people that are sleeping on the street have to be told that they can't sleep on the street anymore. The people that are defecating on the sidewalk, guess what? You can't do that anymore, buddy. I'm sorry. The people that are starting fights, they can't be there either. So whatever it takes to do that, I'm going to do that. I pledge it. I'm going to clean up downtown. Whether that be non-loitering ordinances or enforcement of some of the ordinances that we have already. Now, no sleeping on the sidewalk ordinances. How about maybe we just enforce the laws that we have, and when someone is fighting with someone else, we have them arrested. And if people, the problem that we have with some of the homeless people is some of them have mental health issues, some have substance abuse issues, but what happens is those don't get addressed. And the person with the mental health issues and the person with the substance abuse issues, they're still on that sidewalk every single day. And they're still doing the same stuff that they were doing the day before. And this cannot go on any longer. So if we have to use the criminal court system, we have a drug court. We have a mental health court. And if they don't want to comply, I'm sorry, but you can't keep doing this in our city.
Instead of giving the gang members $100 a week, why don't you give those people $100?
Well, listen. I have other policies for the homeless. Okay, there's lots of things that we could do to get people off the street. All right, I love in my father's kitchen. They do a program where they actually have people. It's funded by the city where they actually have them do work, which is great. Gives them a little bit of money, gives them something to do. You know, we can also have. How do you solve homelessness? All right, well, they need a place to live. You know, and surprisingly, a lot of that, what prevents that is the city zoning regulations. All right, there's lots of industrial places in the city, not in the middle of a residential district, where you could put micro apartments that someone will actually have a place to call their own, put their stuff, and lay their head at night. But that doesn't happen here because nobody in city government has common sense. You could use CDBG HUD money. Okay, that's, you know, if we get it next year, because we keep attacking President Trump, you know. So, you know, how are we going to pay for all this stuff? You know, it's a lot of stuff you're talking about. People tell me, you know, how are you going to pay for it? First, I'm not going to demean our president. I'm not going to get in, you know, arguments with President Trump over federal policy that has nothing to do with the city of Syracuse. I'm not going to give him a reason to take away our federal funds. And there are a lot of federal funds for public safety available. I will work with the administration to get federal grants for our public safety in the city of Syracuse. I'm going to ask for county assistance. I already talked about having a joint task force with the county and the sheriff's department. I think the county has a big interest in the city's public safety, because if something happens in the city of Syracuse, it's a problem for all the surrounding towns and villages. If they're selling guns in the city of Syracuse, that's a problem for East Syracuse. If they're selling drugs in the city of Syracuse, that's a problem for Salina. There's not a wall around the city of Syracuse that keeps crime from leaving. So the county has a big interest in the city of Syracuse public safety, and I think funds will be available for the county for a lot of different programs. I already talked about, we'll eliminate those wasteful programs. I'm not going to be paying gang members to not get in trouble. I'm not going to be paying ex-cons to mentor our kids. Those are going away, and that will free up some public safety. You guys, it sounds stupid, but that's millions of dollars. You know, that program, I was talking about $1.3 million that was funded. It's ridiculous. What else can we do? Well, we can find more money in the city of Syracuse. You know, the Common Council, I think where they made a mistake this last budget was they cut the police budget. They should have cut every other budget except for police. Because let me tell you, the police budget is slim. The rest of the departments, there's all kinds of money that can be found. Trust me. And number one is the mayor's office. They hire so many people that do nothing in that office. And believe me, I will not have half the departments, half of the agencies or whatever he calls them, whatever Walsh has there, a lot of people are going.
The I-team,
IT, they're gone. They're gone.
7 people to pay invoices.
Yeah. So, you know, and we can consolidate a lot of services. I know some of you probably heard me talk about a big thing with me is consolidating the water department with Aqua. The water department, there's no need for the city to have a water department today. And I've talked to different people in the county about making that happen, and I think that that can seriously happen. That would free up a lot of money for public safety. We gotta be better at collecting money. You know how many millions of dollars in tax liens we lose every year when we give the land bank free property? You know, some of the property is worth nothing. Okay, you can have that property, land bank. But when we're selling you a property that's worth over $1 million and there's $550,000 of tax liens on it, we want a piece of that. We can get some of that money back from the land bank. There's no reason for them to get all our money. And just, you know, there's a lot of money that goes uncollected at the city anyway. I mean, when I was there, anecdotally, there were several times where we didn't collect money, or I was told not to collect money. And I'm not talking about a couple dollars. I'm talking about $1 million. I'm talking about $250,000. There's money out there that could be collected that isn't collected right now. And where else can we get money? SU. We're about to renew our services agreement next year with them. They gave us $11 million over 5 years. That's nowhere near what they need to give us. And when they say they gave us $11 million, that came with so many conditions. And we actually have 2 full-time police officers stationed at SU as part of that. SU, if they're not going to pay for our services, then they can sit in line like the rest of the city. And you know what, they're not waiting for, you know, unimportant calls. Cops are showing up to their thefts. Cops are showing up to their little disturbances, and they're taking care of it. So if they want those type of services, they got to pay for them. And this public safety thing is like really hitting me close, because I lived here since 2003, and I've never been afraid. I've never been afraid in my neighborhood. I walk out in my neighborhood, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, I'm on the mailbox, 1 o'clock in the morning, no problems. My neighborhood's crazy now. I mean, I literally had a shirtless man running up and down the street a couple weeks ago, screaming at the top of his lungs for over an hour, blocking traffic, walking in and out of people's yards. Cops showed up and they turned around and they left. And why did they did that? They did that because that's what the administration is directing them to do. If they had different management, that would have been handled differently. Person got shot. No one's been shot in my neighborhood the whole time I've lived there. Someone was shot this summer in my neighborhood. Things are getting worse, and it scares me. I'm bringing a kid into this world this December. My fiance doesn't want to live here. She's scared. And if things don't get better, I may not be living here. If Sharon Owens gets elected, I may have to leave. Khalid Bey, who ran for mayor as a Democrat in 2020, he moved. He doesn't live in Syracuse anymore. We lost 1.5% of our population in the last 4 years because of Walsh Owens policies. We were the only city or municipality in the entire county to lose population. Everyone else gained population. Why do you think that is? Because people don't want to live here. People don't want to pay the taxes for the bad services that we get. And if we don't change that, we're just going to keep going downhill. So how do I win? How are you going to win? Everybody's saying, oh, Tom, you know, there's so many Democrats registered in the city of Syracuse. You got no chance. Well, I think we got a good chance to win. I really do. I think this year with Sharon Owens, who's radically left, she is not the normal Democrat. I think we got a great chance. We got 2 other people in the race that are also Democrats that will be on the ballot, and they're going to be talking about how crazy Sharon Owens is, and I'm going to be talking about how crazy Sharon Owens is. And I think we got a great shot. And the biggest amount of voters in the city of Syracuse is not Democrats, it's independents. So if we can get some of that independent vote, we're going to win. And the Democrats are so mad at Sharon Owens right now. The ones who didn't support her. I mean, I don't know how much you guys know about Sharon Owens. She literally has been campaigning against Democrats for the last 8 years. Campaigned against Khalid Bey, campaigned against Juanita Perez. For 8 years she's been campaigning against them. Now she wants to be a Democrat. People in the party, a large portion of them, are not going to vote for her, especially the more conservative Democrats. I'm reaching out to Pat Hogan supporters this week. We're sending out letters. I've contacted his campaign manager. I've contacted him. We are going to get a portion of those Democrat votes. Independent votes, Democrat votes. What about the Republican votes? We've got over 9,000 registered Republicans in the city of Syracuse. If we can get them to come out and vote, we will win. I'm going to tell you right now, if we get 8,000 Republicans to vote, we have already won. The problem is Republicans don't vote in local elections because they feel like they don't have a chance, in the city of Syracuse anyway. So we got to motivate them. We have to motivate the base. And that's what you guys can help me out with. You guys are all Republicans. If you live in the city of Syracuse or you know someone lives in the city of Syracuse, tell them I'm out here. Tell them to look at my website. Tell them to send me some money. Tell them to volunteer their time. Tell them to put a yard sign out. Okay? If we can motivate the base, we will win. So that's what I need you guys to do. All right? I can't do it all on my own. I need you guys to help bring my message to the Republican voters, the moderate voters, the independent voters, and even the Democrats. Let them know I'm out here. Call your friends. Call your family. Let me tell you, people say that I can't win. If we produce a Republican turnout like we did in 2005 with Joni Mahoney, we're gonna win. Joni got 15,000 votes. She lost to Matt Driscoll, but she got 15,000 votes. That's 3,000 more votes than Ben Walsh got. So don't tell me it's impossible, because we can do it. You guys have a good candidate. I'm highly qualified. We can win. We have better policies. We can win. If you guys believe that we can win, because I believe we can win, we're going to win. You guys think we can win?
Woo!
Yeah!
Are we going to win? Are we taking back the mayor's office this year?
Yeah!
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for coming out there.
Yeah. Thanks, Tommy. Love it.
Now, everybody, back to yourselves.